Hello, friends. Today's story is not just the story of a man and his dog. This is a story about fate. This is a story about those events that we label as bad or good, without knowing what they truly mean. Today we will talk about the Nova effect, a truth that can completely change the way you see your life. For a moment, ask yourself one question. Have you ever immediately decided that something was bad and later realized that very event became a blessing in your life? If yes, then this story is for you. Eric's life was very ordinary. No big ambitions, no extraordinary dreams, a quiet job, a small home, and his greatest joy, his dog, Nova. Nova was not just a pet. She was Eric's companion in solitude. Morning walks, evening coffee, long weekend strolls. All with Nova. One evening, like any other day, Eric took Nova to the park. The weather was pleasant, a light breeze. Everything was normal. And then, in one moment, everything changed. Nova suddenly spotted a rabbit and bolted without thinking. "Nova, stop!" Eric shouted, but she was already gone. Eric ran. He searched every corner of the park. He looked for hours. Darkness began to fall, but Nova was nowhere. That night, Eric returned to an empty house. The house was the same, but the silence was different. He thought, how terrible is my luck? The next few days were heavy for Eric. He put up posters. He posted on social media. He knocked on every door. Every night, the same question. Why? Have you ever felt this? When we lose something, it feels like the universe is working against us. Eric felt the same. But life does not always move in a straight line. A few days later, the doorbell rang. Eric opened the door, and there stood Nova. With her was a girl. Her name was Vanessa. Vanessa explained that she had found Nova by the side of the road. She saw the number on the collar and called. Relief filled Eric's eyes. Gratitude. Nova was coming back. What he had believed was the worst luck of his life had now become his greatest relief. Eric and Vanessa began to talk. First about Nova, then about the weather, then about life. Meetings increased. Coffee dates began. Laughter grew. The pain that had started with Nova's disappearance had now become the beginning of a relationship. Was that bad luck or good luck? Several months passed. Eric was happier than before. One day, on his way home from work, a car suddenly appeared in front of him. A collision. Everything happened in seconds. Eric was taken to hospital. The injuries were minor. As a precaution, the doctors performed a CT scan, and that's when something shocking was discovered. Eric had a small tumor in his brain. He had no symptoms, no pain, no signs at all. If that accident had not happened, the tumor might have stayed hidden for years, and perhaps it would have been too late. The doctors said it was in the early stage. Surgery could cure it completely. The surgery happened. It was successful. Eric survived. Now let's go back. If Nova had not gone missing, he would never have met Vanessa. If he hadn't met Vanessa, he would not have been on that road that day. If he hadn't been on that road, there would have been no accident. No accident, no CT scan. No CT scan, no tumor found. And if the tumor had not been found, this is the Nova effect. When an event seems bad at first, but with time, that same event becomes the greatest blessing of your life. We humans make one big mistake. We immediately judge every event. This is good. This is bad. But the truth is, we don't have the full story. We are looking at one page, not the whole book. Have you ever asked yourself, why does this always happen to me? When a relationship breaks, when a job is suddenly lost, when a dream is left incomplete. In those moments, a question rises within. Does everything really happen for a reason? Or is this just a false comfort we give ourselves so the pain hurts a little less? Today we will understand this question deeply, not with a surface-level answer, but through a powerful mental framework, the Nova effect. It tells us that every event in life either breaks you or rebuilds you. and the difference comes only from how you choose to see it. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Randomness. Life often feels random. Sometimes everything is going right, and suddenly it all falls apart. We think, this happened out of nowhere. Why did it happen to me? But does anything truly happen suddenly? If we look at nature, a tree falls. Does it fall suddenly? No. Its roots have been weakening slowly. The soil had been loosening for a long time. Perhaps termites had already set in. The wind was strong that day, but that was the final push, not the first cause. The event happened on that day, but the causes have been building long before. Our lives are the same. Behind every result is an invisible chain of small causes, small decisions, small habits, small oversights. But the problem is that we see the result, not the causes. When a relationship breaks, we see the breakup, but we don't see the months of unheard words. When a career stalls, we see the failure, but we don't see the years of postponed preparation. This is why life feels random to us. The Nova effect says, nothing is completely random. Everything is interconnected. Your today is connected to your decisions of yesterday. Your habits are the blueprint of your future. Your thinking determines your direction. But here's a twist. Being interconnected does not prove that some cosmic script was written in advance. The Nova effect does not say everything is predetermined. It says events are neutral. They simply happen, but meaning you give it, and that meaning becomes the beginning of your next story. Chapter 2. Cause versus Purpose. There is a great confusion, the difference between cause and purpose. Cause means the reason something happened. Purpose means the intention behind it. At first glance, both seem the same, but the distance between them can change your entire view of life. Science says every event has a cause. A chain of cause and effect runs through everything. But religion and philosophy often say every event has a purpose, a higher intention hidden behind it. This is where the confusion begins. If you slip on the road, there's a cause. Maybe the ground was wet, you were in a hurry, your mind was elsewhere. But did it have a purpose? Did the universe plan for you to fall so you could learn a lesson? Not necessarily. A cause always exists. A purpose does not always pre-exist. But if you learn something from that fall, if you become more careful, if you realize that rushing is harmful, then you have given that event a purpose. The purpose was not there before. You created it. This is where the Nova effect activates. It says, life gives you raw material. You transform it into meaning. Pain is raw material. A lesson is meaning. Failure is raw material. Growth is meaning. Loss is raw material. Strategy is meaning. So the real question is not, why did this happen? The real question is, what are you making from this? Because in the end, purpose is not found. Purpose is forged. Chapter 3. The Human Need for Meaning. The human mind cannot tolerate chaos. Disorder makes us restless. Uncertainty makes us insecure. So we search for patterns. We see shapes in clouds. We look for signs in coincidences. We connect two events and build a story, whether they are truly connected or not. Why? Because meaning gives us a sense of control. If everything is random, then anything can happen at any time, and that thought is frightening. But if we believe everything happens for a reason, then there seems to be a hidden order, an invisible structure, and that very feeling calms the mind. This is why everything happens for a reason is such a popular saying. It makes pain bearable. It turns loss into something temporary. It makes failure part of story. But the Nova effect goes one step further. It says meaning does not exist in advance. Meaning is not a message written by the universe. Meaning is created. Your mind does not just search for patterns. It also builds them. When you treat a difficult experience as growth, it becomes growth. When you attach a permanent label to a setback, it becomes an identity. You are not just searching for meaning. You are crafting it. The Nova effect reminds you, you are not a helpless observer. You are a conscious creator. And when you understand this, even chaos can become opportunity. Because in the end, meaning is not found. It is made. Chapter 4. The Breaking Point. Every person's life contains a moment when everything seems to be falling apart. A breakup, a financial loss, a public failure, a day when your entire world appears to be collapsing before your eyes. In that moment, the heart is heavy, the mind goes numb, and a voice rises from within. Now what? This is the breaking point. It is the place where your old identity begins to crack. In that moment, two paths open. The first is the victim mindset. Why me? My luck is just bad. The world is unfair. On this path, you make the event your identity. You say, I have failed. I am unlucky. I am not enough. The second is the creator mindset. What can I make from this? What is this teaching me? Where is this redirecting me? This path is not easy because instead of running from the pain, you must understand it. This is where the Nova Effect's real test happens. The event is the same. The reality is the same. The outcome is the same. But the identity can change. Some people close themselves off after heartbreak. Some people upgrade themselves after the same heartbreak. Some people develop a fear of crowds after public failure. Some people come back stronger after the same failure. The difference is not in the event. The difference is in the interpretation. The breaking point is not an ending. It is a transition. And in that transition, you decide, will I break or will I be built? Chapter 5. Rewriting your story. Your life is a book. Every day is a new page. Every decision is a new sentence. Every experience is a new chapter. But the truth is, most people don't become the authors of their own story. They become narrators. Those who only describe events and complain. This happened to me. They did this to me. My fate brought me here. A narrator is powerless. They have no control. They only tell the story. But the Nova Effect transforms you from narrator to author. An author cannot change what has already happened, but they can change its meaning. And that meaning changes the entire direction of the story. When someone says you have failed, you can hear it in two ways. First, I am a failure. Second, I am learning. The first interpretation builds an identity. The second interpretation begins an evolution. This small difference changes your identity, and identity builds the future. If you see yourself as a victim, you will find limitations in every situation. You will fear risk. You will blame. If you see yourself as a creator, you will find a lesson in every setback. You will experiment. You will grow. Rewriting your story is not denying reality. It is changing your perspective. The past chapters are fixed, but the next chapter is blank, and the pen is in your hands. The question is not, how has your story been until now? The question is, how are you going to write it from here? Chapter 6. The Power of Perception. One event. Two people. Two completely different outcomes. Suppose two people lose their jobs. The first thinks, I am finished. My luck is terrible. The world is unfair. Nothing is left. The second thinks, maybe this is the chance to start something new. Maybe I've been wanting change for a long time. Maybe this push was necessary. The event was identical. The reality was identical. But the perception was different. And perception creates destiny. The Nova Effect says, reality can be objective, but experience is always subjective. What happened is a fact. How you see it determines your future. The world gradually begins to look the way you see it. If you see rejection in everything, you will stop taking risks. You will play it safe. You will think small. But if you see redirection in every rejection, you will experiment. You will adapt. You will evolve. Perception is not just thinking. It is neurological wiring. When you repeatedly see yourself as a victim, your brain reinforces that pattern. Neural pathways repeat. Negative interpretation becomes automatic. But when you consciously interpret every event as growth, your brain builds resilience. New neural connections form. Your response is mature. This mindset is not motivational dialogue. It is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. It is adaptable. It is shaped by your interpretation. So perception is not a small thing. It is the silent architect. Events may not be in your control, but perception is your choice. And choice is the real foundation of destiny. Chapter 7. The Domino Effect of Decisions. Life does not change from one big event. We often think one big opportunity, one big failure, or one big decision will change everything. But the truth is far more subtle. Life changes through a chain of small decisions. One small decision today, wake up early or hit snooze. One small action, learn today or put it off. One small reaction, respond with anger to criticism or try to understand it. And then the domino effect begins. One small change gives birth to another small change. Then a third, then a fourth. Slowly, a pattern forms, and that pattern becomes identity. The Nova effect says, today's small habit becomes tomorrow's big identity. If you learn for 30 minutes every day, in 5 years you can become an expert. This won't be overnight success. It will be compound growth. If you complain for 30 minutes every day, in 5 years you may become bitter. And you won't even notice when bitterness became your personality. Decisions are small, but results are exponential. This is why some people change dramatically in 10 years. Their thinking, their income, their confidence, their impact. And some people stay exactly where they were. Why? Because daily micro-decisions are building the architecture of the future. Every yes and every no is setting your direction. What you think today, what you repeat, what you tolerate. That becomes tomorrow's identity. The Nova effect is not deterministic. It is dynamic. This means you're not stuck. If decisions have been wrong until now, a new domino can be set in motion today. You can adjust your direction every single day. A small shift creates a new pattern, a new trajectory, and over time, the entire story can change. Chapter 8. Emotional alchemy. Alchemy means turning ordinary metal into gold. It is an ancient symbol of transformation, of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. What is emotional alchemy? Turning pain into strength, turning shame into confidence, turning failure into strategy, turning rejection into clarity. This is not magic. It is a conscious process. When something bad happens, your first reaction is emotional. The heart races. The mind goes into survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze. In that moment, you become a reaction. But this is exactly where the Nova effect teaches you to pause. If you stop for just a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what is the lesson hidden here? What is this showing me? How can I become better from this? Then you are converting emotion into energy. Emotion is energy. Suppressing it does not make it disappear. It accumulates inside and then becomes either anxiety or anger. Many great people were forged from their trauma. They didn't suppress the pain. They channeled it. They turned heartbreak into fitness. They turned rejection into skill building. They turned humiliation into the fire of their story. Pain, if given direction, becomes power. Pain, without direction, becomes destruction. The Nova effect says energy is neutral. The event is neutral. Emotion is also neutral. You give it direction. You decide whether this experience will break you or shape you. Emotional alchemy is not an instant trick. It is a practice. Every time you turn pain into purpose, you grow stronger from within. And slowly, You stop being a slave to circumstances. You become a craftsman of transformation. Chapter 9. The Pain Advantage. We run for pain. We avoid discomfort. We fear rejection. We want to escape failure. But the truth is, pain is the catalyst of growth. Think about how muscle is built in the gym. Through micro tears. When you lift weights, tiny tears form in your muscles. The body repairs them. And that very repair process makes the muscle stronger. Without stress, there is no strength. In the same way, emotional stress builds mental strength. When you endure criticism, face rejection, and go through loss, your emotional capacity stretches. If your life is very comfortable, growth will be slow. Because comfort doesn't challenge you, and without challenge, there is no expansion. Adversity builds character. The Nova effect does not say pain is good or that you should seek it. It says pain is powerful, and power can either be used to destroy yourself or to transform yourself. Some people close themselves off after heartbreak. They stop trusting, they run for vulnerability. Some people become better after heartbreak. They build self-awareness. They develop emotional maturity. Same event, different results. The difference is not in the pain. The difference is in the processing. The pain advantage belongs only to those who process it consciously, those who ask themselves difficult questions, those who reflect before they blame, those who choose to evolve before they choose to escape. Pain is temporary, but the strength gained from it can be permanent. And when you understand this, pain is no longer your enemy. It becomes your trainer. Chapter 10. Identity is the real reason. People often ask, why did this happen to me? This question is natural. When something goes wrong, we search for reasons. We want explanations. But the Nova effect asks a deeper question. Who am I becoming? Events happen on the surface. They are visible. They become topics of discussion. But transformation happens inside, quietly, slowly, at the level of identity. This is the final secret of the Nova effect. Events do not define you. Your chosen identity defines you. Suppose two people fail. The first says, I am unlucky. I always fail. The second says, I am resilient. I will learn and come back. Slowly, both of their worlds become different. If you believe you are unlucky, your mind will search for proof in every event that yes, you really are unlucky. Confirmation bias works. Every setback reinforces the belief. If you believe you are resilient, every challenge becomes a training ground. Every difficulty becomes a test, and every test expands your capacity. Life is not reason-driven. Life is response-driven. The event is neutral. Your response gives it direction. Your response becomes your reason. When you consciously choose your identity, I am a learner. I am a builder. I am adaptable. You don't break according to circumstances. You adapt. Identity is not a label. It is a lens. And the moment the lens changes, the entire picture changes. So next time life asks, who are you? Don't look at the event. Look at your chosen identity. Because in the end, the reason is not found outside. You become the reason. Chapter 11. Chaos is a teacher. Sometimes life changes without warning. A sudden illness, a deep loss, an unexpected betrayal, one phone call, and the entire direction of the world changes. In these moments, philosophy feels weak. Quotes feel hollow. Motivation feels superficial. It seems like chaos has broken every structure. But this is where the Nova effect is most powerful. Because chaos doesn't just break, it also teaches. Chaos gives clarity. When everything is stable, we become complacent. We get lost in routine. We assume what exists will always exist. But when chaos arrives, the illusion shatters. Suddenly you understand who is truly with you and who is only there in convenient times. what is really essential, and what was just ego, what is completely unnecessary, yet you have been carrying it for years. Chaos filters your priorities. It removes unnecessary layers. It exposes distractions. It forces you into reflection. Yes, chaos is painful because it breaks the comfort zone and steals certainty. But it is also informative. It shows you how strong you are, where you are fragile, where you need to grow. The Nova effect says chaos is not the enemy. It is the teacher. A teacher is not always gentle. Sometimes they are harsh, but their lesson is powerful. If you run from chaos, you leave only with the pain. If you observe chaos, you leave with clarity. And clarity becomes the foundation for the next chapter of life. Chapter 12, Becoming the Architect of Meaning. Until now we have understood, events are neutral. Meaning is created. Perception builds destiny. Pain can become power, but understanding is not enough. The final question is, how do you practically become the architect? How do you consciously design meaning? The Nova effect is not philosophy, it is practice. And practice begins with 4 steps. Step 1, pause. Don't react immediately after an event. When something goes wrong, our first reaction is emotional. Anger, fear, shame, disappointment. These all activate instantly. If you make decisions in that state, you're operating from pain, not clarity. The pause is power. A deep breath, a little time, a little distance. This is the beginning of emotional control. Step 2, reframe. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is this showing me? Where is this giving me a chance to become better? Reframing is not denying reality. It is adjusting your perspective. Same event, new meaning. And the moment meaning changes, emotion begins to change too. Step 3, decide. Will this event make me weaker or stronger? This decision is not automatic. It is a conscious choice. You can choose victim identity or growth identity. Identity determines direction. Step 4, act. Convert the lesson into action. If you learned that your communication was weak, improve the skill. If you learned that discipline was lacking, build a routine. Meaning is built from action, not just from thought. Reflection without action can become self-deception. But reflection plus action becomes transformation. Becoming the architect means seeing every event as raw material, and every time consciously deciding, what will I build from this? Because in the end, life provides the material. You build the structure. Chapter 13, The Myth of Fate. People often say, everything was written in my fate. This phrase gives comfort, because if everything is predetermined, then we don't have to blame ourselves. But is everything truly pre-written? If everything is already decided, then why effort? Why hard work? Why decisions at all? If everything is fate, then who is responsible? The Nova effect does not completely reject fate, but it redefines it. Fate is not a fixed script that you are merely reading. Fate is a trajectory, a direction, a possible path. And a trajectory can change. A direction can shift. Imagine a river. A river has a natural path. It flows according to the slope. But if rocks are placed in its way, if a dam is built, if obstacles arise, it turns. The flow changes. Your decisions are those rocks. You cannot change the entire river. You cannot control your birth, your past, certain external circumstances. But you can change the flow. Fate is a possibility. Decision is reality. People blame fate to escape responsibility. Nothing was in my hands. It was meant to be this way. But the truth is, responsibility is frightening because it gives power. And with power comes accountability. If you accept that your choices matter, then you must also choose, and you must take the risk of choosing wrong. The Nova effect says, you're not a victim. You're a participant. Life is not a fixed movie you're watching. It is an interactive story in which every decision is changing the flow, little by little, and those changes slowly become destiny. Chapter 14. Freedom through responsibility. This is a paradox. Taking responsibility gives you freedom. At first, this seems strange. We think responsibility is a burden, a restriction, pressure. But the truth is the opposite. When you say, I am responsible for my own life, in that very moment, you regain control. Because now you are not waiting for circumstances. You are in a position to take action. When you blame, you give away control. It happened because of them. The system is broken. My luck is bad. Blame gives temporary relief. For a while you feel better. You feel the fault was not yours. But with blame comes the loss of power. Responsibility gives permanent strength because it says, maybe not everything happened because of me, but what I do next is my responsibility. The Nova effect redefines freedom. Freedom does not come from external conditions. It does not come from perfect situations. Freedom comes from the ability to choose your response. You cannot control every event, the weather, the market, other people's behavior, but you can control every reaction. And reaction builds identity. When you consciously choose your response, you stop being reactive. You become intentional. And an intentional person does not become a victim of circumstances. They gradually become the conductor of their own life. This is real freedom. Chapter 15. The long game of life. In the short term, life can seem unfair. Sometimes you work hard, but results don't come immediately. Sometimes someone with less effort gets ahead. Sometimes the reward for honesty arrives late. In the short term, life feels messy, unpredictable, sometimes unjust. But in the long term, patterns form. In 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, consistency produces results. The Nova effect is not a short-term comfort philosophy. It is a long-term transformation strategy. It is not quick motivation. It is sustained evolution. When you treat every setback as a lesson, compound growth begins. In the first year, the change will seem small. In the second year, slightly visible. By the 5th year, noticeable. By the 10th year, it can seem extraordinary. Compound interest doesn't only exist in money. It exists in character too. Every small discipline, waking up early, daily learning, taking care of health. But they treated it as redirection. They thought, maybe the product needs to change. Maybe the audience needs to change. Maybe the approach needs improvement. Rejection didn't become an ending. It became an adjustment. The event was rejection. The interpretation was redirection. And that interpretation became the future. Pattern 2. Loss to reinvention. Many people start their best career after job loss. Before, a comfort zone, a regular salary, a predictable routine. Then suddenly, everything ends. Initially, shock, fear, uncertainty. But that same discomfort pushes them to explore their real potential. Why? Because the comfort zone is shattered. When a safety net is removed, creativity activates. Risk-taking increases. Self-discovery begins. The loss could have been a tragedy, but interpretation turned it into reinvention. Pattern 3. Pain to purpose. Many motivational speakers, writers, and coaches were built from their trauma. They faced loss, rejection, depression, or failure. The pain could have broken them, but they asked, if I can come out of this, I can help others do the same. Pain gave them purpose. The Nova effect appears in every story where the event was not decisive. The interpretation was decisive. The event was the beginning, meaning gave the direction, and direction built the destiny. Chapter 17. The psychological shift. Now the deepest transformation. This is not external. It happens inside, slowly, at the level of thinking. When you truly accept that life is neutral, events are neutral, and meaning is chosen, a subtle but powerful change begins. Fear starts to decrease, because now you don't treat every event as a final judgment. You start to see it as raw material. Before you thought, if this goes wrong, everything is over. Now you think, even if this goes wrong, I can build something from it. This thinking doesn't make you reckless. It makes you resilient. Now you know, even a worst-case scenario can become a future strength. Failure can teach a skill. Loss can give clarity. Rejection can give direction. This is not blind optimism. This is strategic optimism. Blind optimism says, everything will be fine. Strategic optimism says, whatever happens, I will make it meaningful. This is not denial, it is design. You don't ignore reality. You don't run from facts. You don't suppress pain. You see reality as it is. Then you consciously decide, how will I use this? This is the psychological shift. Now you're no longer a reaction to circumstances. You become a creator of responses. You don't search for external control. You build internal stability. And when internal stability arrives, external uncertainty no longer feels as frightening. Because now you know, the event can be unpredictable, but the interpretation can be intentional. And that intentional interpretation becomes the beginning of your new identity. So now, if someone asks you, does everything happen for a reason? What will your answer be? Perhaps you will say, no, not everything is predetermined, but everything can become a reason. The reason is not written in advance. You create the reason. Your pain can be a warning or an awakening. Your failure can be an ending or an evolution. Your heartbreak can be a trauma or a transformation. Life gives you the material. You give it meaning. This is what the Nova effect teaches. You are not powerless. You are a sculptor. You are shaping your own character with every decision, every response, every interpretation. So the next time life feels unfair, pause. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? And then consciously choose, I will not be broken by this. I will be built by it. Because in the end, everything doesn't happen for a reason, but you can give everything a reason. And that reason is what makes you extraordinary. If this audiobook touched you, don't just listen and leave. Write in the comments, which event in your life are you going to give a new meaning? Like, share, and subscribe to One Book, because next time we will explore even deeper psychological frameworks that will permanently change the way you think. Remember, life may be random, but your response must be intentional. And that is what writes your future.